Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 100, Magny versus Prates. First things first, smash that like button, hit the subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. Quick overview of last week. Uh, Fuck Marc-Andre Barria. What else do you want me to say? He went out there and fought like an idiot. You can have a split decision against Chris Curtis, who was like a top 10 guy in the weight class, and then go out there and get knocked out by Dustin Stolfus in your next fight. UFC's a bitch. I don't fucking know. It sucks. It super sucks. We overall had a profitable night, but by the slimmest of margins. Alexander Romanov getting on him early did pay dividends. He went off as a minus 135 favorite. We got in on him at plus 105, and ultimately he saved a whole bunch of our nights. Aaron Blanchfield, I had a ton of parlays with her, and our other lock hit. I can't even think of who it was. So all in all, it was a profitable week, but by the slimmest of margins because most of my parlays had Marc-Andre Barrio. But it is what it is. We're on to the next week. It's UFC Vegas 100, first triple digit Vegas card. Maybe a really, they honor the Apex by giving them something crazy. No, it's fucking terrible. It's your normal Vegas card. It's pretty bottom of the barrel. So it's a whole bunch of pink slips. So I was hoping maybe they'd go all out for their inaugural three-digit Apex card. They don't care. So whatever, it is what it is. But their free fights, can't complain. So let's start with the very first fight of the night. We have Trayshawn Gore at minus 190. Going up against Antonio Tricoli at plus 160. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 105. Under 2.5 minus 140. Let's start with Tricoli, aka Mr. Dern. He's 33 years old. He has a 5-inch reach advantage. He's 12-4. He has pretty good jiu-jitsu. That's it. No other positives about this guy. His striking's not good. He's very, very robotic on the feet. He's very, very hittable. And for someone that predominantly wants to use their jiu-jitsu, wrestling ain't really that good. He'll try to body lock you since he's so goddamn tall. But it's not very good. Not very good wrestler. Very low volume. He won on Dana White Contender Series and then popped for PEDs right away. So he looked pretty robotic and stiff and bad on the juice. Off the juice, god damn, like he's not a very good fighter whatsoever. But he is dating Mackenzie Dern somehow. I don't know. Maybe he uses drugs to enhance his performance in the octagon. Maybe he drugged her to get her to agree to date him. I don't know. I don't fucking know. But yeah, that's all he really has going for him. A reach advantage, good jiu-jitsu, and he's Mr. Dern. On the other side, we have Trayshawn Gore, who has basically nothing going for him. He's only in the UFC because he was on the Ultimate Fighter. I think that was yeah, it was the Volkan Ortega, or sorry, Volkan. Yeah, the Volkanovski Brian Ortega season. And the reason I have to think about it so hard is because it was 3 fucking years ago. Like this dude has fought 2 times in the UFC in a span of 3 years. Like he averages less than a fight per year. He pulled out against Bo Nickel where they tried to sacrifice him. The AJ Dobson fight didn't go through. The Josh Friend fight didn't go through initially. So Chicoli also had a few that got canceled. So who knows if this fight even happened? As of right now, it's still scheduled. Gore's 30 years old at this point, has not fought in 2 years. He has pretty technical striking, and he hits decently hard. That's about all he has. I know he won his last fight by guillotine, but Josh Fred gave him that. Like he didn't go for a guillotine. Josh Fred literally put his head in there. I don't know what he was doing. His jiu-jitsu is not that great, and even though he is a striker, his volume's very, very low. He barely swings, and with him barely throwing, he's very hittable on the feet because all you have to do is throw a three punch combination out there. He's not going to throw anything back until like your third combo. So you get up on the numbers on this guy real easily. So wrestling, not that good. Jiu-jitsu, not that good. Chin, not that good. And he does slow down in his fights, just like Tricoli. So I don't know, man. This is bad. This is real bad. Neither one of these guys are UFC caliber. If you want to get real greasy here, I will say that Tricoli has fought the better level of competition, fighting someone like Jacob Volkman, who used to be in the UFC. He also fought Diego Lima, who used to be in the UFC. Now, that might be the best fighter any of them fought, and it's pretty ironic because Trayshawn Gore's main coach is Diego Lima. So they should have a good game plan for Tricoli. They already beat this guy, but that's the coach compared to this 4-2 student. So although he'll have the right game plan, will he be able to execute? I don't fucking know. He hits pretty hard. Maybe he can knock out Tricoli if this thing hits the ground. Tricoli's probably going to sub him. If this thing stays on the feet, Gore can knock out Tricoli, but Tricoli can also knock out Gore. Gore's chin is not good. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at violence. I don't trust any of these guys. The pick will be Tricoli just because he has more ways to win. The bet's probably going to be the under 2.5 at minus 140. But if you really want to value chase, I probably will sprinkle at least one bet on Antonio Tricoli. Why fucking not? He's the better fighter and he has a plus sign next to his name. So the pick is Tricoli. The bet is going to be Tricoli, and I might sprinkle a little of that under 2.5 in a parlay somewhere. Next fight of the night, we have Cartavius Romeos at minus 200 going up against Gaston Bolanos at plus 165. Over 2.5 plus 160. Under 2.5 at minus 200. Let's start with Romeus. He's not very good either. He's coming off of the season of Dana White Contender Series. He's 30 years old. He on paper has good jujitsu because I think he has like 4 or 5 arm bars out of his 9 wins. But then he has one rear naked choke. But ultimately, his striking's not great, and the guys he's tapping out are the lowest of the low level. So I mean, he's getting a whole bunch of armbar from guards, and that's something that just doesn't happen in the UFC unless your name is Marcin Tybura and you're fighting Sergey Spivak. Yeah, man, armbar from guard is not going to work here. His in regards to his striking, he's one of these short, stocky muscle guys. He's kind of like shaped like a wrestler, a very powerful wrestler. But I've never seen him offensively wrestle. I have no idea. All of his wins are armbar from guards. Why? Because he got taken down. His takedown defense not great. Part of that is because he's one of these guys that jump guillotine or let you take him down and immediately grab your arm for an armbar. He feels comfortable off his back. So I'll say jujitsu is the best part of his game, but he's fighting people that don't know how to spell BJJ. So I don't know if it's true or not. When he is striking, he is very aggressive and he is very powerful. He can knock out anyone at any point. Very athletic specimen. Just look at him. But when he does strike, there's not a lot of technique on the feet, and his chin is way up in the fucking air. Like if he's just swinging and someone cracks him, he's gonna go out. In fact, that did happen. He's a 2-time Dana White Contender Series fighter. First time on the Contender Series, he fought Ramon and he knocked him out in less than 30 seconds. Why? Because he goes out there and he swings with his chin straight up in the air like he's on a street fight, and he got fucking chin checked. You can't do that against professionals. You can't arm bar from guard professionals. The shit doesn't work. You got to be better. And I don't know if he's going to be better. His cardio is good. I'll give him that. For his build, you don't think he'd have good cardio, but he does. But his ring IQ is awful. In his last Contender Series fight, he fought Michael Imperato. Michael Imperato has bad cardio. He has bad striking. All he can do is grapple. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's very, very good on the ground. Cortavius didn't just stand up and finish him on the feet like he could have. He wanted to play around in the grappling and show he could grapple. That's bad fight IQ. Just go out there and get the win. You're trying to get a contract, bro. Like, why are you out there grappling with the grappler? Just go strike. It's not that hard. So I don't know. His ring IQ, his overall just techniques, it scares me a little. If he fights the right guy, he needs the right guy to win. If he fights anyone that's competent, he's in a little bit of trouble. I don't know if that's Bolanos. Bolanos isn't very good himself. He's very, very one-dimensional. He is an accredited Muay Thai striker, and he's very, very good on the feet. Very, very powerful, a ton of knockouts, and knows what he's doing when it comes to striking. That's it, though. His jiu-jitsu is ass. His wrestling is ass. He has an urgency to get up, and his cardio's okay. It checked out, but I will say that Cortavius probably has better cardio. He can go a hard 15. Bolanos will go 15, but he'll slow a touch on there. But if this is on the feet, Bolanos will absolutely murk him. If this is on the ground, this is a guy that Romeus can also armbar from guard. But the thing is, Bolanos isn't going to take him down. Will Romeus offensively wrestle? I have no fucking clue. I haven't seen him do it yet. So if he stands with him, he's fucked. And he should know that. But I can't trust Romeus at minus 200 by any means. Any means. If you're going to trust minus 200, the under 2.5 is minus 200 as well. Just take that. This thing ain't going the distance. If this stays on the feet, Milanos will knock him out. If this thing hits the ground, Robius will tap him out. So why trust the favorite with very suspect ring IQ when you can just trust this fight not to go the distance or the under 2.5 at minus 200 for the same price? Makes no fucking sense. I'll all over the under. The pick is gonna be Robius just because he can catch him on the feet and he can sub him. But the bet's just gonna be the under 2.5 at the same number. Just protect yourself on both sides. Next fight of the night, we have Melissa No Mercy Mullins at minus 240 going up against Claudia Sigola at plus 195. Over 2.5 is minus 275. Under 2.5 at plus 205. Melissa Mullins, aka Melissa Dixon, she did get married. So if she looks familiar, that would be why. But we're actually going to start with her opponent and Claudia Segula. Why? Because this is the one that the UFC would probably prefer to win. She's very marketable. Clearly, she's only 25 years old, out of Poland. She's interesting. She's fought literally nobody. Level of competition is god awful. She's fought people that were 1-0, 6-9. She fought someone that was 0-1, 3-0-1, 0-0, 1-0. Like these aren't great level of competitions at all. Not her fault. She's only 25 years old, but now she's already jumping into the UFC. What I will see is what I will say is what I saw on tape is that she has a lot of grappling going on here. Her wrestling was not very good. She got taken down kind of easily, and her takedowns, all she has is a body lock takedown, and it looks a little questionable. Um, Her striking, she will throw volume. I'll give her that. She'll throw a ton. She's just very pillow fisted. She doesn't hit hard at all. She's coming in on short notice. Initially, Mullins is supposed to fight Montserrat Rondon. I will say this fight's probably harder, just because Segula throws so much volume out there. But again, her grappling's not that great. Wrestling, not that great. She throws a ton of volume, but she's very, very hittable herself. Like she does not believe in head movement. She just looks physically weak out there. Like you can bully her because she's a 25-year-old girl and hasn't fully developed yet. Is basically what it looks like. But at least she's strapped. She'll throw a ton of volume out there. And the biggest thing with this is that all of her wins are by decision or submission, every single one. The reason that's big here is because Melissa Mullins has a little bit of a chin problem. She only has one career loss, and it was by knockout. But I've seen her get rocked and dropped multiple times on the regional scene. I mean, we have kind of like a model on one end, and then we have Melissa Mullins, God bless you, is not a model. She is also 6-1. She's 33 years young. Vicious ground and pound. That's the best part of her game. She's essentially a wet blanket on top. Once she gets on top of you, you're not going anywhere. She's either going to pound your face through the mat, or she's going to submit you. She's good jujitsu. I believe she is a brown belt. And again, very, very vicious, hard ground and pound once you get down there. Level of competition. She beat Daria, who's in the UFC. She beat Irina Alisika, who's not terrible. She fought the better level of competition, 110%. Her striking's pretty clean. It's just very low volume, which makes her kind of hittable. She's just very physically strong. And she mostly counters, which is good for her because Sagila throws so much goddamn volume. She'll have a ton to counter here. She does start a little slow. I mentioned her getting dropped multiple times. It's always in the first round. Like she just starts. She can't figure out anything to start as a counter striker until she figures out your rhythm. And then she looks a little better. It's just her chin, man. Again, she keeps getting dropped, but Segula has zero power. So if Segula tries to body lock her, good luck. Melissa's going to throw her across the octagon. If Melissa gets on top of Segula, it's game over. But if it's on the feet, Segula might be able to stick and move and just kind of out volume Melissa. But at some point, I think the 33-year-old is going to grab a hold of the 25-year-old and just get her down. If Melissa gets this fight to the ground, it's over. If this thing stays on the feet, it's a close fight. But at the end of the day, the technique is still with Melissa. The power is still with Melissa. So I think it's Melissa all day. Again, UFC doesn't want that. UFC would much prefer Segula to be a thing, but I don't know if it's time yet, especially on short notice. But do watch Melissa on weigh-ins. She has slowed down in fights before. She missed weight her last fight and kind of gassed out. So make sure you keep an eye on the weigh-in. But the pick is going to be Melissa. The bet is going to be no mess, Melissa Mullins. Sorry, no mess, not no mercy. Next fight of the night, we have Cody Stamann at plus 225 going up against Damon Blackshear at minus 280. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 425. Under 2.5 at plus 280. Let's start with Damon Blackshear. He's someone I like a lot, and I think I have bet in every single one of his UFC fights. He has an 8-inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is awesome. He's 30 years old, which is in the prime of his career. He is okay striking. It's not great, but it's pretty good. His wrestling and his jiu-jitsu are his bread and butter. He's a grappler through and through. Very good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu. His cardio, not great. He does slow down. He can go 15 minutes, but he is gassed in round 3. Level of competition, awesome. He's one of these guys that fought a Danny Sabatello, that fought a Pat Sabatini, all on the regional scene before even coming into the UFC. Chris Montino. Like, all these guys have been in the UFC or Bellator and are just known as being good fighters. Mateo Vogel's another one that's very good. And in the UFC, he fought Yusuf Zalal and went to a draw. He fought Fareed Basharat, fought Luan Lacerda, Jose Johnson, Mario Batista on a week's notice, Montel Jackson. Like, he's fighting the who's who in the division. He's good, man. He's a very, very good fighter. I like this dude a lot. Things that concern me: his cardio, and the fact that he has 66% takedown defense. That doesn't look great, but all of the takedowns are always late. His takedown defense looks fine the first round, and then again, you could get this guy tired, and then you can start taking him down. On the other side, but I do love Damon Blackshear. I bet him literally every single time. On the other side, we have Cody Stamann. Cody Stamann is someone who's definitely declining. He's 34 years old. He's fought the who's who of the division as well. He fought champs. He fought Aljamain Sterling. He fought Taylor Lapilus, Douglas Day, Silva Andrade. He also fought and beat Luan Lacerda, Saeed Nurmagomedov, Merab Delishvili, the current champ. Like, he's fought the who's who of the weight class, even more so than Blackshear. He has good striking. He has good wrestling. His jiu-jitsu's okay. His cardio's good. 76% takedown defense, so that's going to be interesting here. And he's a little pillow fisted. He doesn't hit hard at all. That's why the under is minus 425. And he's very hard to finish. He's never been knocked out. He's been submitted a few times, which is probably Damon's best method to victory. And that's why it turns into college wrestler versus college wrestler. Who's the better wrestler? I don't know. I truly don't know. Because if this thing stays on the feet, although I am a Damon Blackshear, I love that dude through and through. Stamann might be the better striker. And Stamann definitely has the better cardio. So if he's able to sprawl and brawl and keep this on his feet, Stamann is very, very live. And these odds are way off. However, if Damon Blackshear is the better wrestler, he's going to take down Stamann and backpack him Aljo style and just steal rounds that way. And we've seen him do it to better competition. We saw him do it to Yusuf Zalal. So, Blackshear has the ability to take down and backpack or even submit anybody on the ground. He's that good on the ground, has wins via twister. So, and we've seen Stamann submitted by Saeed and by Aljo. So we've seen him get submitted by taller, lankier fighters in the past. So who's the better wrestler? On the feet, Stamann. On the ground, Blackshear. In regards to wrestling, a wash. So, because I think it's 50-50 wrestling, and I don't know where this fight is taking place, not a shot I'm laying minus 280 on my guy. If I do anything, I don't want to touch the over at minus 425. It'd be dog or pass with Cody Stamann. He's live, and these odds are off regardless, honestly. So, although I like Damon Blackshear more, you got to bet with, styles make fights. The pick is going to be Cody Stamann. The bet's going to be Cody Stamann at plus 225. You got to abuse the line. Next fight of the night is another one we're going to abuse this line. We have Charlie Radke at minus 160 going up against Matt Semmelsberger at plus 135. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 130, under 2.5 even money. The line we're abusing is going to be that under, maybe. Both these guys are finishers. Let's start with Charles Radke. 34 years old. He pressures forward. He has a ton of power, but he does spam the same left hand over and over and over. It's like a scooping uppercut, kind of, with his left. That's all he does repeatedly. Kind of like you think of Elise Reed, throws that overhand left over and over and over and doesn't stop. The same thing with Charles Radke. He's a male Elise Reed. His jiu-jitsu is okay. But his wrestling is not. I mean, he couldn't take down Blood Diamond, so that's gonna be an indictment on you till the end of time. He's another one of these guys that are shaped like a wrestler, but strikes. He prefers to strike. His cardio, not good, slows down in all of his fights. Can you knock him out? Yep, he's been chin checked multiple times. So yeah, man, I someone that's a little bit chinny with bad cardio and is kind of one dimensional on the feet. Not something I generally want to put my money behind, especially as a favorite. Good news for him is that he's fighting Matthew Semmelsberger, who isn't exactly the greatest fighter either. He also just wants to stand the entire time. Not a very good wrestler. He will have a 3-inch reach advantage, and he does hit pretty hard himself. So both of these guys pack a punch. He's 31 years old, but he's a little more hittable on the feet. His jiu-jitsu is a lot worse than Radke's, um, and he does slow down in his fights a little bit as well. Not as bad as Charles. I will say that Semmelsberger probably has the better cardio of the two. The striking is a wash, and the wrestling is kind of a wash, to be honest. When you have a bad wrestler going against someone with bad takedown defense, it's kind of a wash. So I think this fight's pretty 50-50. It's a matter of who lands on who first. And why pick a side? The under 2.5 is even money. Take it. Take it before it moves because this is not going to stay even forever. Jump on that shit. The pick is going to be Matthew Semmelsberger just because he's the dog. And I'll look that direction in regards to betting, maybe in some DFS lose. But the under 2.5 should not be even money. Both these guys are just power punchers. Both these guys, all their wins are by KO. Why the actual? Both these guys have been KO'd. And recently, both these guys are coming off of getting KO'd, and both these guys only win by KO. Why the fuck is the under 2.5 even money? Take it. Pick map, bet under 2.5. Next fight of the night. I don't fucking know what to do with this one. We have Mansour Abdul Malik at minus 360 going up against Dusko Torodovic at plus 285. Over 1.5 plus 125. Under 1.5 minus 160. Let's start with Mansour because he's someone that I cannot wait to fade. I do not believe in this guy. He is a Dana White Contender Series kid. 27 years old. He will have a 6-inch reach advantage in this matchup. His striking's okay, but he is a college wrestler. He has good wrestling, and that was his background. His jiu-jitsu's okay. But although he's a wrestler, most of his wins are by KO. The dude is just an athletic freak. Dude hits hard. He has no idea what he's doing. He's not technical whatsoever. He's very hittable on the feet himself, but he is aggressive as shit, and he knows he has the death touch. All it takes is one, and you can go out at any point in time. Has never gone to decision. All his fights have ended in either round one, and he had one fight that went into round two in his last fight, the Contender Series fight. So he fought a level of competition that was a little higher. It took him until round two, but he still ultimately got the KO. What I didn't like seeing was that he does slow down in his fights a little bit. Round two, he looked a little tired. He looked very tired. The only problem is Wes Schultz looked just as tired. So he had two gas guys going at it, and he clipped him first. And ultimately, when he got on top, Wes Schultz didn't have enough cardio to get back up, and he had some vicious ground and pound. Like that shit was ridiculous. He's just athletic, man. He pressures forward with aggression, and he can knock you out at any point. He can take you down at any point. He dictates where this fight is going to take place, but I don't know if he has the gas to do that for a full 15 minutes. So if he runs into someone durable, he's in a little bit of trouble. That is not Dusko. Dusko is not durable by any means. Dusko is 30 years old. He's coming off of a pretty long hiatus because he had a leg injury as he fought Christian Leroy Duncan. It was like a non-contact knee. I don't know if it was an ACL or what happened, but he just went down. He's interesting. I don't think he's that good, but as you go back and you watch the tape, he's a little better than I remember, in all honesty. His striking's okay. He throws a ton of volume. I do not like how low he carries his hands, especially because he's chinny. He is not a durable fighter whatsoever, and he keeps his hands extremely low. His cardio, I've seen him gas out, but I also saw him use cardio as a weapon against Jordan Wright, and he had pretty decent cardio in that second round there. It was an absolute war in the second round. I saw him utilize his grappling and get a few takedowns against Chidi Njokuani. So that did show fight IQ. He was grappling with someone that notoriously lost by getting taken down. That means he does his film study. He knows what he has to do. Jordan Wright is known for gassing out, so he just kind of rope and doped him and then finished him in the second round. That's good fight IQ. Like that's something I do like the bet on. Maki Pitolo went out there, got the finish. Gregory Rodriguez is just a motherfucker. And Puna, that was his first ever career loss. He thought he was invincible, and Puna cracked him. So it is what it is. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I wasn't aware of that until I went back and did fight tape. So he's probably the better Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Wrestling wise, he's not the better wrestler. Striking wise, he's definitely the better striker. But he has a little bit of a chin issue going against someone with a ton of power. He also has 45% takedown defense. So if Malik just wants to take him down, he can. Um, he can slow down in his fights. I've seen him have good cardio. I've seen him have bad cardio. I never really know what you're going to get. He hasn't fought in 2 years, so I'm guessing it's going to be the bad cardio this go around. But I do like his fight IQ. I loved seeing him use cardio as a weapon. I loved seeing him wrestle someone that struggles in the grappling. That sold me. It truly did. I don't trust his chin. But the good news is he's fucking plus 285. You could just throw a dart on him. I am not trusting Mansar Abdul Malik. Not yet. Uh, in fact, I'm going to continually fade him. He's not good. He's not good at all. But if you give him the right guy, it has to be the right guy. I don't know if Dusko is, but because of his fight IQ, I'll take the shot this time. So the pick is going to be Mansoor. The bet is going to be Dustin at plus 285. I can't help it. I'm a value chaser. I'm a dog hunter. All right. Next fight of the night, we can't really go over. As I pulled up Tapology, I saw that Nicholas Dalby officially pulled out of his fight. Alyssa Zaleski is still fighting, however. He's going to fight a Zach Scroggin. Zaleski, I can just say, is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, very good striking, okay cardio, pretty decent wrestling. But he's 37 years old. He's just an aging vet. He was good everywhere. He could have been a thing 10 years ago, but he's just very late in his career. On the other side, we have Zach Scroggin, who I really don't know anything about, but he is training at Marathon MMA. Most of his wins are by strikes, but I don't know. I haven't done fight tape. I don't know if they're a ground and pound. Marathon is generally a pretty grapple heavy gym. It's run by Trey Ogden, people like Miles Johns. I'm assuming he was probably going to be in Miles Johns' corner, and they're just like, "Do you want to fight too?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I'm already here." He's only 7-0. He's only 28 years old, so I really have no idea what I'm getting. I have to look at the fight tape. My guess, he's at a wrestling. It's like having someone from Team Alpha Male. You assume they can wrestle and have a good guillotine. Like you just assume. Fight nerds, you expect them to be very good strikers and have very good fight IQ. Like certain camps, fight ready, you expect them to be very good wrestlers. Like in certain, let's see, Factory X Muay Thai, you expect them to have very good Muay Thai. Like it's a certain camps you expect certain things. A marathon is a grappling heavy camp, so I don't know if that's a good idea against Zaleski, who's a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. I don't know if Scoggin can strike, but I know Zaleski can. It just feels like that lesson 2.0 when Zaleski beat the absolute hell out of Benoit Saint Denis. We could see that 2.0, but we need to look at the odds and we need to do the fight tape. So I will keep you posted on Twitter as to what I found out. Next fight of the night, we have Luana Pinheiro. We're into our main card. We have Luana Pinheiro at plus 320 going up against Jillian Robinson at minus 410. Over 2.5 plus 115. Under 2.5 minus 150. Let's start with Luana Pinheiro because I'm hoping that she joins her boyfriend Nicolau getting cut. She's 30 years old. I will say she has good striking. She has okay jiu-jitsu. She has okay wrestling. She's pretty good throws, like judo throws. She's a judo practitioner. She has a pretty good level of competition. She's pretty marketable. There's a lot of good things about her. It's just her bad qualities are the ones that you don't want. She's a little chitty, and she has very good very bad cardio, and she's very hittable. 66% takedown defense. Like none of these are what you want. You want them to have good cardio and want them to be able to wrestle. She can't do either, and she can't take a punch. So yeah, getting tapped out by Angie Hill isn't the greatest look. Getting knocked out by Amanda Hebos isn't the greatest look. Michelle Watterson, she won a split against 40-year-old Michelle Watterson, and I thought Michelle Watterson got robbed that night. Sam Hughes, that was a very close fight. I thought Sam Hughes won that. And then Ronda Marcos, she did the whole acting job when she got kneed on the ground and said she couldn't continue. So, yeah, her whole UFC run has been literally her literal whole UFC run. She won a contender series. She got a DQ win. She had a very questionable decision given to her. Very questionable decision given to her. Then she got knocked out. Then she got submitted. Like she's has fraud written all over her. On the other side, we have Jillian Robinson, who did have fraud written all over her until she did something that was very pivotal to her career. That is called switching weight classes. She dropped down to 115, and flyweight Jillian and God, flyweight and strawweight Jillian, not the same person at all. She's 29 years old, and world class jiu-jitsu. She might be the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the weight class. Even at grappling competition where she submitted Thug Rose, which isn't easy to do, and she did it in like a minute. The thing with her is that her striking has been improving. It's been getting good, but that's not her bread and butter. She wants to get you down to the ground and submit you. The problem is at flyweight, her wrestling wasn't great. She couldn't get these big girls down. She dropped down to 115, and that 10 pounds, man. All of a sudden, she's muscling girls down. She looks like Habib out there at 115. So she dropped down. She got a little bigger and more physically imposing, and her wrestling is looking better. Her volume's not great. She's very hittable when she's on the feet, and she's been chin checked a few times. She has 40% takedown defense, but part of that is by design. She's one of these girls that will pull guard because she's so good on the ground. She doesn't care. She'll pull guard. She'll let you get on. She'll let you take her down so that she can try to sweep you. Like she doesn't want to have good takedown defense. All in all, she is good at 115. All she needed to be able to do was be able to wrestle so that she can utilize that world class jiu-jitsu, and being able to be bigger than some of these girls now is all she needed. She'll have problems when if she ran into like a Wei Li Zhang or Jessica Andrade, someone that can match her physicality. She's in trouble. I don't think Luana's that. And even if Luana can, she can for one round, and then she's in trouble. So I am all over a Jillian round three finish here. But the under 2.5, I was like, okay, let's get some plus money on there. Under 2.5 is minus 150. They expect to finish. And let's be honest, Luana can chin check Jillian as well. So what you're going to do is you're just going to I'm going to pick Jillian Robinson, but I'm going to bet fight doesn't go the distance. Just in case Luana chin checks Jillian, which has happened early, you cover yourself. And if this thing hits round three, gassing Luana with crazy top game Jillian on top of her, Jillian's going to finish her. So the pick is going to be Jillian. The bet's going to be the fight doesn't go the distance. Or if you just want to do the under 2.5, you can do that as well at minus 150. Next fight of the night. I gotta be honest. I don't know what to do. We had Gerald Mearshart at plus 235 going up against Renier Day Ritter at minus 290. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 220. Under 1.5 at plus 170. Let's start with Ritter because he is new to the UFC. And he's someone that is coming over from one championship, very decorated champ over there, overseas, very well respected. Problem is, he's coming over at 34 years old. That's another one of these Michael Chandler deals where they are world class, they are UFC caliber, but they're coming in late. Like your prime starts to hit you at 35. This dude's 34 and he's just now coming over. World class jiu-jitsu. He's 17-2, and both his losses are to the same guy. He just cannot beat that guy over at one, who is a three division champion. Like that guy is a real deal, one of the best fighters on the planet. So not being able to beat him is justifiable. 34 years old, 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup, making his debut. But I'm not too concerned about it being his debut. And got a lot of high level experience over at one championship. World class jiu-jitsu, good wrestling. He has been knocked out again by the same guy who hits very hard, but it was recently. So I don't know if he's getting a little chitty with age. He has pretty good fight IQ. He tried to do a little rope a dope against that Antonoli guy. He also tried to get him down to the ground because he didn't want to strike with him clearly. My problem is he can't slow a little bit in some of his fights that I watched, and he quit before. Like he legit got his last God, the retirement in round three. He was so physically exhausted. Herb Dean told him to stand up, and he couldn't. And Herb Dean stopped the fight. So he legitimately quit in his last loss. That's scary. That's unbettable territory. Like I do not feel comfortable betting someone who quit in a fight. However, he is fighting GM3 Gerald Meerschaert, who's 36 years old. So it's old man versus old man. The UFC knows what they're trying to do here. Um, Renier has a shiny name, and they want to get him to win, but they need to give him a credible guy. So, a la GM3, GM3 is 36 years old, and he's also a jiu-jitsu practitioner. So, you jiu-jitsu against jiu-jitsu. Who is better? Honestly, probably Renier. But Gerald does have very good jiu-jitsu, the most submissions in UFC middleweight division history. It's about a good level of competition, but he's very hittable on the feet. His striking is not good. His chin is god awful. If you crack this guy once, he just goes out. His wrestling improved a little bit, but it's not that good. And he does slow down in his fights as well. So you have an older guy that has a little bit of a chin issue that you want to push, that has a tiny bit of a cardio issue, but you really want to push him. Who do you give him? A guy that's even older with an even worse chin, even worse striking, and even worse wrestling, and just as bad cardio. Like the UFC is doing this for a reason. This is a setup fight. That's why he's almost minus 300 coming in a debut. They want Reiner, and they want Reiner bad. So the pick is going to be CR or RDR. The bet is going to be RDR. In the next fight of the night, we have Ricky Tercios at plus 235 going up against Bernardo Sopa at minus 290. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 180. Under 2.5 at plus 150. Let's start with Sopaj. He's the one that was on the highlight reel KO, getting KO'd by Lock Dog. What's his actual name? Vinicius Oliveira. That flying knee was deadly. But lucky for him, he has taken 8 months off. He trains at All Stars over where Ozdemir and Hamzat used to train. He's only 24 years old, and he did take that lockdown fight on short notice up a weight class. So he's dropping down to his natural weight class at 135, which will benefit him a ton. And all in all, in the regional scene, he has good striking. He has okay jujitsu. His wrestling's okay, and he utilizes it well. His cardio's okay. He gassed out in a little bit in that last fight, but that was up a weight class against a very physical 145 pounder on a week's notice. So I'm going to cut him a lot of slack. I just hope that he didn't hurt his chin or anything, taking that fight and getting KO'd like that. But all in all, this guy is an actual prospect. He's very, very good. He was just outsized on a week notice in his last fight. In a fight that was 1-1, mind you. He won the first round, lost the second round, and the third round was up in the air up until he got that flying knee. On the other side, we have Ricky Tercios, who won the Ultimate Fighter. I think it was the same season as Trayshawn Gore was on. It was. He's 31 years old now. He has a 5-inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is intriguing. But I don't really know if he's going to use it appropriately. He just kind of key-aws and swings at the air. His striking's all right, but he has zero power whatsoever. His jiu-jitsu's okay, but he can't wrestle to save his fucking life. 45% takedown defense, and it's pretty bad. His cardio is very good. That's the best part of his game. But he's just an okay striker with okay jiu-jitsu with no wrestling. That's not going to work at this level. He'll dominate the regional scene, but in the UFC, if I do think Sopaj, I think the striking's a wash. I think it's close. I think it's 50-50. But if Sopa wants a takedown, Sopa will get a takedown, and he can stay safe against Ricky on the ground. So he has more ways to win. The pick is, and that's why he's the big favorite here. So the pick is going to be Bernardo. The bet is going to be Bernardo. Next fight of the night. My girl, Denise Gomes at minus 520 going up against Carolina Kovalevich at plus 390. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 340. Under 2.5 at plus 240. None of this makes any sense. Denise Gomes should not be this big of a favorite. That really threw me off. But if you are going to make her minus 520, why is the under 2.5 plus 240? Like these don't correlate. Mainly because Denise Gomes is an absolute killer. She's 24 years old, and most of her wins are by knockout. Like she goes out there and finishes girls. That's not common, but she's rocking girls left and right and getting finishes. Yasmin Uruguay, she knocked out Bruna Brazil. She rocked Luma, Ryan Amanda on Contender Series. Like that's a very good win. She has a ton of good wins on her record. And her losses are to Luma and Angie Hill. Like those are fine. She's only 24 years old. She has okay jujitsu. She has good striking, freakishly power for a 115-pound fighter. Good cardio, great volume. Good get up game with her 66% takedown defense. That's her problem. She's not a very, very good wrestler, not a good takedown defense. But that's the same as Jessica Andrade. She is literally mini Jessica Andrade. That's all she is. Pressures forward just like her, hits just as hard as her, has a good ground game and bad takedown defense. She is literally reincarnated Jessica Andrade. On the other side, we have Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who's a nice fighter. I like Kowalkiewicz, but she's 39 years old at this point. She has good volume. She has okay striking. She has okay jujitsu. She is okay wrestling. She's a little bit of a generalist. She once fought for a world title, but that was like 10 years ago. She was a good fighter. She still is a good fighter. Again, 39 years old is getting up there. Uh, the thing with her is that she did fight Jessica Andrade. I just called Denise Gomes a mini Jessica Andrade, and Carolina looked okay, but I got overwhelmed. She's just not physically strong out there, and you can just kind of overpower her and overwhelm her. And she ultimately got knocked out by Jessica Andrade. Denise Gomes hits just as hard and fights the same way. Why can she just not knock out Karolina Kowalkiewicz? If you expect her to, and if she's minus 520, why is the under plus 240? This makes zero fucking sense. Denise probably ain't winning the decision against Carolina. She's going to put her lights out against a 39-year-old woman. So that's the route I'm going. Pick is Denise Gomes, not trusting minus 520. I'll just take that under 2.5. And I'm gonna damn sure take a look at that prop line and see what the Gomes KO is. Because they gave us plus 800. I'll never forget, they gave us plus 800 against Uruguay, who has one of the worst chins. What were they doing? If they want to do something stupid like that again, I will take advantage. But the pick is Gomes. The bet is going to be the under 2.5 in a women's strawweight fight. You heard that right. Then that takes us to the co-main event of the evening. We have former champ Cody Garbrandt plus 125 going up against Marathon MMA Miles Johns at minus 150. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 160. Under 2.5 at plus 125. Let's start with Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt's 33 years old. Again, former champion. He has good striking. He has okay jujitsu, sneaky good wrestling, ton of power, and is fast as shit. Has some of the fastest hands I've ever seen. His level of competition is great. I mean, he's a former champion. He's fought multiple champions. The problem with Cody Garbrandt, volume extremely low. Part of that is because he's a counter striker. He does not like to go first, and he is recently not afraid to have a boring fight because he will counter strike only. He will throw a body kick and counter strike, and that's all he will do. And he'll mix in a takedown here or there to help secure the round. He became a point fighter. Why? Because he's chinny as fuck. He can't stop getting knocked out. He has 6 career losses, and how many times has he been knocked out? Figueroa choked him out. Rob Font decisioned him. But Kai Kara France knocked him out. Pedro Munoz knocked him out. TJ Dillashaw knocked him out. TJ Dillashaw knocked him out again. So 4 of his 6 losses are by KO. His chin, gone. It's terrible. It is long gone. So he became a point fighter. And he can do so because he's so fucking fast and so fucking strong and sneaky good at wrestling. He can mix in a takedown if he has to. But it does make for boring fights if he fights another counter striker. His fight against Trevin Jones is probably most similar to what he's going to fight against Miles Johns. And it was boring as fuck. But he ultimately got the job done and did what he had to do. With Miles Johns, a reason I compare him to Trevor Jones is because he hits decently hard and he himself is also a counter striker. He's 30 years old. okay striking, has really good wrestling, but he doesn't really use it anymore. He used to do nothing but wrestle. He's 15-2. He's fought some good level competition on Adrian Yanez, Mario Batista, Dan Argueta, Cody Gibson, Douglas De Silva Andrade. Like he's fought some decent guys. John Castaneda. But I mean, Cody's fought the better guys. His jiu-jitsu is okay. 85% takedown defense, so it's going to be hard for Cody to mix in those takedowns. Um, he usually slows down in his fights. Cody can slow down a little bit too. But the last few fights, Miles Johns has had good cardio. He also popped for performance enhancing drugs, so I don't know if that has to deal with the improved cardio. USADA's gone, TBD. But his volume's very low, and he himself is a counter striker. So I I don't know. He's a guy that fights with confidence. When he's winning the fight, he looks good. When he's losing a fight or in a close fight, he just seems to be scared to pull the trigger. He has to like build himself up. Even in his last fight against De Silva de Andrade, he got hit with a spinning wheel kick by Andrade, and then literally in the middle of the fight started yelling at himself, going, "I can't get hit with that," and like talking to himself, pumping himself up. That's weird. It's a little bit of a mental guy here. Again, we talk about people like Rose, where they can show up sometimes and not show up the other. Yeah, if you have to psych yourself up in the middle of the fight, that's a little concerning. And he's just been striking so goddamn much compared to when he used to wrestle. If he just counter strikes with Cody, Cody's quicker. Cody probably wins this fight. If he mixes in takedowns, it's not going to be easy. Cody has 80% takedown defense. Both these boys can wrestle. It's probably a wash when it comes to the jiu-jitsu. And the volume is probably a wash. So I don't know, man. Cody being plus money and the faster fighter, I don't know. I think I'm going to take the shot. I know his chin is god awful, but Miles doesn't fucking throw. So it's going to be hard to get knocked out if you don't get hit. The pick is going to be Cody Garbrandt. That's going to be Cody Garbrandt. And that takes us to the main event. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, share the video, do whatever you can to support the pod. We have Neil Magny at plus 550, going up against Carlos Prates at minus 800, over 2.5 plus 165, under 2.5 minus 210. This is market overcorrection incarnated. Uh, Prates, 31 years old, great striking, great power. He is essentially he's essentially welterweight Poatan. He's not the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's not the greatest wrestler. He's actually a little hittable when he's on the feet. His cardio's okay. He can slow down a little, but he fights while slowing down. He's literally Poatan 2.0 because if he hits you, you go out. The dude has how many career wins? Let's see, his last win, knockout, 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 knockout. So that's four straight by knockout, five by knockout, six by knockout, seven by knockout with a jab, eight by knockout, nine by knockout. So he is on a 10 fight winning streak, and the last nine fights have all ended by knockout. Joseph Luciano did manage to go to decision with him. And then before that, he had a loss. And then before that, it was knockout, knockout, knockout. He himself got knocked out, interestingly enough. And then he got a choke along the way. We're going way back into 2016, where apparently he was getting rear naked chokes and getting choked out. But moral of the story is he's on a 9 fight winning streak, and or sorry, 10 fight winning streak, and 9 straight have been KO. Death touch. If he touches you, you go out. End of story. Pretty decent volume as well. He's literally Alex Pereira at welterweight. And the fighting nerds are a combined 14-0. That fight camp has not lost in the UFC. 14-0. On the other side, we have Neil Magny, who is old as fuck. He is 37 years old. He's gonna have a 2-inch reach advantage, which shocked me. Protest is so long and lanky. You forget how fucking long Neil Magny is. Great level of competition. He's essentially just a generalist. He has okay jujitsu. He has okay striking. He has okay wrestling. Will keep you up against the fence forever and just hold you there. He generally tries to beat you with wrestling and cardio. But his cardio, he's been slowing down a little bit with his old age. His striking, he's a lot more robotic. And as he's doing the cage control, he's not really getting takedowns. He's just holding you against the cage as of late. A lot of cage work. That's what he relies on. But in his younger days, he's a prospect killer. if you were a main prospect coming up, they gave you Neil Magny as a test, and he is the definition of he is the original gatekeeper. Like he is the gatekeeper of all gatekeepers. Uh, and he's still doing the damn thing. They gave him Michael Morales, just because they want to see how good Michael was. They gave him Mike Malott, and he ended the Mike Malott hop. Ian Machado Gary, they gave him Gary. It was interesting. It was on short notice. Phil Rowe, he ended that hype. Gilbert Burns is just a vet versus vet matchup. Daniel Rodriguez was a prospect coming up, and he put out that hype. They gave him Shavkat because to see how Shavkat was at that level. Max Griffin was just a vet versus vet. Jeff Neal, he won the Jeff Neal fight. That was a prospect killer. Killed that hype. Michael Chiesa up at 170. Is he a true 170 pounder? Apparently he was because he went out there and he beat Neil Magny. They had to test it. He beat Robbie Lawler. Anthony Rocco Martin ended that hype. The Leech ended that hype. They gave him Santiago. Like every single time there's a fighter that is coming up and just entered the rankings, and you want to know, is he real? Can we give him a top 10 guy? They have to fight Neil Magny first. It is Neil Magny, then top 10, then top 5, then you get a title shot at welterweight. That's what happens. You have to fight Neil. It is a requirement to fight Neil Magny. And they're giving it to Prates. He just got ranked. He beat the Leech. Now he's ranked, and now they're giving him Neil Magny before they give him a top 10 guy. Is he going to pass the test? Neil's 37 now, so he very well could. He should. I hate this line, though. Minus 800 is insane. Uh, Even the KO prop is going to be way too high. At the end of the day, at these numbers, prospect killer at plus 550, it's dog or pass. I think it's Prates. I think Prates knocks him out in the first couple seconds. But I can't bet him at minus 800. That's unbettable. You're forced to touch the over under or Neil Magny. And you might as well just take the shot on Neil plus 550. So the pick is Prates. I truly think Prates wins the fight, and I think he does it easily and early. I don't know when to pick a round. He gets a lot of his knockouts in round two. And Prates smokes too many cigs to trust at minus 800. So the pick is going to be Prates, but the bet would just be a shot on Magny. Otherwise, you should really just pass on this fight, to be honest with you. And that's UFC Vegas 100. Not the greatest card in the world, but it is a free card, so we can't complain. As long as we win money, we're happy, baby. Let's get after it.